Welcome. This is the Best of the Best show, brought to you by Biles Wilson. I'm Dunham Biles.
I'm Jeremy Wilson.
And together we're Biles Wilson, a boutique commercial litigation firm based here in Dallas, but with a national scope. And Jeremy, you and I have now been friends for over 20 years. Why don't you just tell the audience briefly how we came to be here today?
Sure, I'm happy to. You know, Dunham, we were fortunate enough to get to cut our teeth at a boutique litigation firm here in Dallas and in New York called Pickle & Brewer. Got the opportunity to work with a lot of top-notch lawyers there over the years. I know that I learned a lot from it, and I think you did as well. I think you and I kind of early on realized we had a similar philosophy when it came to the practice of law, similar work ethic. And even though the two of us kind of went off and kind of forged our own paths over the next 15 years, kind of regrouped here in the last year or so and thought we could probably make a better law firm. So decided to join forces and give that a shot, and that became Biles Wilson.
Excellent.
So, but Dunham, what do you think the connection is between our law firm of Biles Wilson and the podcast that we're doing today, the Best of the Best show?
Well, there's certainly some connections, but it's also just a connection to you and me personally. We both enjoy our profession because we get an opportunity to help those in need solve problems. We enjoy learning. We enjoy listening. And this gives us an opportunity to listen to fellow very successful people in their own professions who inevitably have faced hurdles to get there. And it's always great to learn how they did it because there are different answers to different problems. And with that information, we're able to learn from it and to not only improve our own businesses, but most importantly, use it to help our clients in their time of need in solving the problems that they may face with their businesses.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
On that note, Jeremy, can you tell us, I sort of went into it, but a little bit about why we actually started Biles Wilson? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, look, I think we found that there's a need over our careers for a lot of businesses who need, like there are a lot of law firms out there that charge between, maybe $1,000 to $2,000 an hour. And look, they're focused on Fortune 100 companies. Those companies get all of their attention, and they might take your case, and you might be able to pay them, but you're clearly not going to be their focus. So, for us, we knew there were a lot of businesses that needed that type of, the type of representation that we could bring, and that they would really genuinely come first for us. So, when you've got small businesses out there that they've got bet the business litigation or their reputation is on the line, or, they've got the biggest problem they've ever handled, they want to know, we believe, that they've got lawyers who will be down in the trenches with them every day thinking about their case, working on their case, considering new ways to make their case, give a successful outcome to their case. So at our firm, we truly believe in our motto that our clients and winning come first.
And today we're joined by the great Ransom Jones, who not only we've had the great opportunity to represent, but we've also gotten to know and admire. And Ransom, what I'd like to do is just start talking about your background, because I think it'll be of interest to the community. You're a man who grew up in Muleshoe, Texas, which I believe is in the Panhandle. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then somehow you went from Muleshoe to being a CFO now at multiple publicly traded companies. You've been a director at prestigious financial institutions, including Goldman Sachs, AIG, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
So just tell us, how does a boy growing up in the Panhandle of Texas land up on Wall Street in New York?
Well, it was a kind of a circuitous route that I took to get there. I've thought about writing a book from Muleshoe to Manhattan, chronicling all those experiences over the years and what's taken me from one place to another. It's rather fascinating, but I am no longer the most famous person from Muleshoe.
Oh, is that right?
It would be my cousin, Lincoln Riley, who is the head coach of the University of Southern California,
yep.
And his brother, Garrett, who's now the offensive coordinator for Clemson. So I certainly take a backseat to their fame. But in any case, it's been a fun ride. I graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso with a degree in accounting, and thought that if I could ever be a partner at a Big 8 accounting firm, that would be all I would ever want to do or aspire to do. Well, I did that.
Where was that at?
At KPMG Peterbilt, I became a partner in the New York City office, which I transferred from Texas to New York City, which was a very big jump for me and my family.
Now, let me ask you, just to stop you just for a second. So when you did that, did you face some backlash? Did people say, get a rope? People worry about you moving to New York City?
Well, yes. Family and then, people certainly in New York thought about Muleshoe, Texas, but it was kind of a novelty to them. My name, Ransom, was in an old film named Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Ransom Rusk. So it had some history to it,
Sure,
and some conversation to it. But in any case, I was a tax partner at KPMG, specializing in insurance taxation, and I thought I'd be in New York City for a few years, but then get transferred back to where I want to be in Texas. And that was the agreement with KPMG Peterbilt, that go up there, do this specific job, and then come back a few years. So my wife and I thought that'd be a real experience, and it was. But after 2 years up there, I did some speaking for Goldman Sachs, and it's a very un-Goldman Sachs-like move, but I had one interview and they hired me. Usually they go through a battery of interviews in those large investment banking firms, especially Goldman Sachs, the premier investment bank in New York City. And I did not have a degree from an Ivy, like you have.
Well, thank you, Ransom.
But I guess I'd had the School of Hard Knocks and experiences that they believed would enhance their effort.
And when was that? When did you join?
That was in 1987. It was not a good economic time.
October was very bad, as I recall.
Yes, it was. The Black October, if you will.
Yep.
But we survived through that and did a lot of innovative transactions for them, creating demutualization of insurance companies, which they ended up demutualizing and taking public almost every one of them. So I was the impetus behind that, very successful for them. But after 5 years there, I had helped take my brother's company public, which was a refinery in El Paso, Texas. And he wanted me to become his chief financial officer of that company, having already been a chief financial officer of a public company. So I ended up taking that job and was there a few years, and things really didn't work out. And so I was wondering, what am I going to do? Well, I ended up back in New York City working in financial institutions, first with Citibank, and then I became head of the North American Financial Institutions Group for ABN AMRO Bank, a very large Dutch bank, which at the time was the third largest in the world.
So what did you do for them?
I ran their insurance banking group, both investment banking and commercial banking, their mutual fund practice, and I banked other investment banks, providing them liquidity lines of credit.
Well, there's an interesting thing, right? I think most people don't ever think of insurance companies as banks, but they're in fact among some of the largest banks in the world.
They are, and later I went to AIG, which at the time was immense. I left there before the fall of AIG, but I was in their financial services group, setting up financial businesses around the world, so did a lot of travel there. So that was a phenomenal experience, but after many, many years in New York and commuting into the city from Connecticut, it became very tiresome, and I ended up putting together a business with three other colleagues, in South Florida. So moved there, raised $200 million and deployed it very profitably over a period of several years. And then the business kind of subsided for a variety of reasons. It was very successful, made over $20 million in net income in 3 years. So
that's a success, for sure.
Well, it wasn't that it wasn't successful. But then at that time, my wife and I say, well, maybe we ought to get back to our roots, and we came back to Texas.
Well, let me ask you before we get back to Texas. So I think I know that my notes show that you had a few kids while you were in New York. Is that right?
Well, I had one in New York. Well, the first one was in Texas, but I raised my children in Connecticut. And so they graduated high school there, but we were very thrilled that my son decided to go to TCU to college. My daughter didn't follow his lead.
Oh,
she
no.
ended up at Bucknell in Pennsylvania. But they both done well with their Connecticut education and their college educations where they went.
Excellent.
Great.
So, if you don't mind, I think now we've brought you back to Texas. So I know at some point you became the CFO of Greenway Technologies, right?
I did. I thought when I came back I'd basically retire, but since I've been back, I've probably worked as hard as I've worked in my career, absent the hour and a half commute each way per day. But my brother, who's a successful businessman, got invested in Greenway in probably 2015. And given my experience in accounting, he thought that I would add a dimension to the company. So I ended up joining it in various roles. I've served over the past several years, since 2015, I guess, so 9 years. For a time, I was president, but mostly I've served as CFO, and I've been on the board a significant number of those years. And it's been a pleasurable experience with a lot of opportunity, but yet unfulfilled.
Yeah, well, you get some interesting technological achievements going on here at Greenway Technologies, and I'm sure our audience would like to know a little bit about that. I understand it has to do with converting natural gas into a liquid form and diesel. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have partnered with the University of Texas at Arlington, their engineering staff over the past many years, and in essence, they've been our in-house engineers, but we've outsourced it to them. Very smart guy, one PhD in chemical, one PhD in engineering, and over the years we've worked closely with them in furthering our technology and refining it, and now we're at a point where we can commercialize it. The primary technology converts natural gas to diesel, jet fuel, and other high-value chemicals. And it's a very clean, green, but moreover, it can change the world. Yeah. Because we can go to Africa that has plentiful natural gas, but no way to monetize that natural gas. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, our process has a 3-to-1 conversion on input and creation of potable water.
Wow.
That's
huge for Africa.
Huge for Africa. Through the heat, we can generate electricity to fuel a village, to provide electricity for that village. So a very, very powerful impact, not only financially, but on the good of the world.
Certainly. Well, in addition to those, those kind of ancillary benefits from the conversion process, what are some of the uses to which the fuel that you
Well, certainly if you're going natural gas to diesel, we know that'll fuel a lot of trucks.
Sure.
And jet fuel, we know that'll be providing that for many, many years.
Okay.
The valuable chemicals will be additives to other products that are out there. But more recently, we've developed the technology to convert natural gas to hydrogen, which we're finding it'll be generating electricity primarily. And you look at cryptocurrency, it takes a tremendous amount of electricity to be a crypto miner. So there's a very good application in that regard.
Could you explain a little bit more about, because you and I talked about this a bit, and I was kind of fascinated about the use of hydrogen to create electricity. And I understand that this would primarily be for on-site electricity generation, like in a factory or something.
And going back, one of the things I failed to mention with our process is so clean. If you use it on site, we can stop flaring, which is another big environmental benefit for our country and the world as we go forward. But say again the question.
Well, the question is that I understand that you're generating electricity with this hydrogen, and I believe that you would be like an on-site generation, like at a factory, perhaps.
We will certainly do small units, and on the hydrogen, it'll be at a wellhead or from a natural gas pipeline that we would extract it and do it on-site in smaller, less expensive units. But in connection with a crypto mine, for example, it would be on-site.
Wow.
And then a lot of people in the Marcellus in Pennsylvania are looking at this. Their natural gas, they're not getting enough money out of it to even extract it and sell it. So through our process, they'll be generating a very high value uses for their natural gas.
Ransom, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go back. You mentioned manure. That seems to be a little bit of a hot button issue these days in the Midwest, where we have cattle farming and ranching and hogs and climate activists complaining about gases. So does your technology have a role in helping solve those problems?
Well, it really does. We have found that there's a great need to create ammonia for anhydrous ammonia fertilization, and particularly in Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, and other states. There's a lot of cattle and a lot of hogs that produce a lot of waste, and we can recover that waste and use it to convert to natural gas, which then we can convert to hydrogen and use for these other purposes. Primarily, in their case, they manufacture a lot of fertilizer, anhydrous ammonia. We can do that. So we're getting a lot of traction in that area.
I also understand you have technology to convert to methanol.
That's correct. And methanol can be used, and I'm still learning. I'm an accountant, but I'm learning a little bit about the technology and what the uses are. But methanol can drive all kinds of machinery if they're properly built to do that. And we see it also as a very vast opportunity on a global basis to be able to have lighting, to not have to use open burning stoves in those villages, to help prevent lung cancer and ailments and breathing. So we're looking forward to those kinds of opportunities, and we're trying to partner right now specifically with a very large charitable organization that wants to bring these technologies not only to the United States but to other places in the world to help their lives.
Sounds like a natural partnership with the type of technology that you're trying to implement here.
It is. I mean, it's wonderful to work for a company that not only can make money for its shareholders, which is our primary responsibility, but to also be able to provide good things for the world in terms of the environment, green that everyone is seeking, and so formidable in everyone's mind to create a better world for everybody.
That's wonderful. Well, if our viewers would like to go and learn more about this, is there a website or someplace?
We have a Greenway Technologies Inc. Just put in your search engine Greenway Technologies. It'll lead you to our website, and we have some information about the company on there. We have our filings, SEC filings. We have press releases, information for shareholders and interested parties.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Ransom, we've talked about you. We've talked about us a little bit. We've talked about Greenway. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how we met, how we got to know each other.
Well, it was a little serendipitously, but good serendipity.
Yeah.
We were scrambling around with a legal issue that we've been dealing with for a few years without a resolution. And we were getting down to a deadline that we needed help on. And through a common acquaintance, got introduced to Dunham and Jeremy, and were able to engage them very quickly. We had to answer a motion for summary judgment coming up and get ready for a hearing. Quickly, within a week, they were able to marshal their resources and step in and help us. I'm happy to say it ended up in a positive resolution. We went to the hearing for summary judgment, and the plaintiff was denied on every count in that. So we're batting 1,000. Thanks to you guys, and
thank you.
Extremely happy about the professionalism and drive that you brought to the company.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that, and we certainly enjoyed working with you on it. And we've really appreciated you having you on the show today. This has been really interesting and
Well, it's such a pleasure being here, and thank you for inviting me. I, in terms of you guys and over the years, I've been at some of the largest financial institutions in the world. Along with that, worked with some of the largest, most prestigious law firms in the world, and so I have a high bar when it comes to to my legal help, I look for several things. I look for first integrity. I look to work with somebody I enjoy being with on a friend-to-friend basis.
Sure.
Obviously, I look for intelligence, experience. I look for you having confidence in yourself, which instills confidence in me, that we can work together and achieve our goals together. And it's all worked out exceedingly well. And the follow-up and the times we've been together since then has been such a pleasure. And hopefully we won't have challenges like we've had in the past.
Hopefully not.
But hopefully we can be more proactive and do things on a proactive basis and a reactive basis going forward.
Well, I really appreciate the kind words, Ransom, and obviously we feel that's the highest compliment we can get. With our viewpoint, that's what we want to do is put our clients first and help them out, and really appreciate the kind words.
Well, and you guys are tenacious. You have the experience to do that. You look for these situations, kind of want a bulldog, and I think you guys display that kind of attribute in your reacting to people that are making fallacious claims.
Well, thank you, Ransom. In closing, I just want to try to tie up a couple things together that you spoke about, and first off, just in case we didn't ask you, is there anything else that the audience should know about Greenway and what it's doing and what its hopes are and what it can achieve for them?
I'm extremely proud of what we've done and we're ready to do. We're at a point where we're getting so many inquiries about hydrogen and our traditional gas to liquid right now. And so we're very optimistic about that because it will take us from a pre-development company, a pre-revenue company, to a company that's demonstrated its technology in the marketplace, and we can spread that technology and the good things it can do for the world and our financial situation on a vastly greater basis.
And then on a personal note, right? You've had already an amazing career, but you're also a very a beloved father, a beloved husband, I believe a grandfather, right?
I am. I just had a grandchild, a granddaughter. Had two grandsons, a little older, and had a granddaughter 4 months old. No, I'm the first. So
well, congratulations.
Really proud of that.
But people like me and Jeremy, for that matter, and others professionals out there who are still striving to reach their goals and their professional careers, I think we always find it difficult to find the right balance between achieving those goals while also being a good husband, a good father, a grandfather. Do you have any advice for those people out there?
I do. Love your spouse and be committed to that first.
Absolutely.
Be committed to being greater than yourself, for sure. Be humble about your life. And I think you need to have wise time management, but you need to have a spouse that's supportive of your goals and your career, which my wife has always been. It was very difficult in New York. Living in Connecticut, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and catch the 6 o'clock train, and I never got home, even if I left work at 5:30. I didn't get home till 7 earliest.
Yeah.
So you got to have a spouse that's very understanding of those kind of time commitments. And I know in the legal profession, sometimes the days never end.
Yeah.
And you have to have an understanding party when you come home.
Sure.
It makes you feel welcome and you're anxious to get there because of that.
So going back one last time to the business side of your success, though, as a person who grew up in what I would call a normal or more normal than you're not from Manhattan. You grew up a Texan. You grew up in the Panhandle. There had to have been a lot of people who said, "You can't do it. You can't be a Goldman Sachs guy. You can never achieve these." You obviously had high goals. What do you tell people about how you did it, or what one tip do you have on how they can try to attain their goals in life?
Being self-confident about your skills and abilities and having drive and persistence. That's not one, that's three. But there are many other aspects and things that go into making that. And luck and circumstance certainly has something to do with it.
Well, thank you for your time today here, Ransom. We greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure the audience will as well.
It's a pleasure. I look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
Happy to have you back whenever you're
absolutely, anytime.
Absolutely.
And this has been the best of the best, brought to you by Biles Wilson, where clients and winning come first. Thank you again, Ransom. We will see you all soon.